You're thinking about retiring to Raleigh, North Carolina and think a 55 and over community might be for you? Well, I can't tell you how many times we've had people call, text, or email us and say, I'm moving and I want to live in a 55 and over community. Help me find the right one. To be honest with you, most of the time, they don't end up buying in 55 and over communities. And in this video, we're going to tell you exactly why. We're looking at the pros and cons, the things you need to consider before buying in a 55 and over community, and we're getting after it next. Okay, before we get started with the pros and cons of 55 and over communities, I want to welcome you back to the channel. And if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Chris. I'm with Crossroads Residential here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We receive calls, texts, and emails every day from people like you thinking about moving to Raleigh, and a lot of them are thinking about moving to 55 and over communities. So we're going to go through the pros and cons to help you decide if a 55 and over community is right for you. Now, after doing some research and talking with our clients who have purchased in 55 and over communities, and some clients who thought that's where they wanted to live, and after looking into it, went another route, I've come up with the 5 things that you need to consider, both pro and con, for living in a 55 and over community. The first one is amenities. Amenities seems to be what gets really all the attention and all the excitement stirred up. If you've watched our videos on 55 and over communities, like the one Encore at Wendell Falls, there is no question that it is absolutely beautiful. It looks like you're in Las Vegas at a beautiful pool. They have pickleball courts, tennis courts, walking trails, fishing pond, a huge clubhouse that has grilling and hangout areas. They offer clubs. I mean, there's an activity director that actually plans clubs and things to do. So there's always something to do. And I think the thought is you'll find a group that you can connect with and just not even have to leave the neighborhood and have your whole social life right there. Unfortunately, for a lot of folks, they find that they don't take advantage of all those things. While it seems good initially, life gets in the way, or you just figure out that I don't really go to the pool that much, or I'm not in the wine tasting club. Problem with that is, and here's the con, that the HOA fees associated with that stuff, it doesn't go away. So what you have to do is consider, because they do offer so much in those areas, that you're likely to have a much higher, in fact you will have a much higher HOA fee. Now, does that justify having access to those things in your neighborhood? It does if you're going to take advantage of them, but it's a hard pill to swallow to write that check every month if you're not using it. Just know, before you sign on that line and purchase that home, those fees don't go away, and in fact, they often go up. Now, the next thing is the HOA itself. There are a lot of protections, which are the pros that come along with an HOA. You don't really have those concerns of a neighbor that doesn't keep their lawn up. They have knee-high grass in the front yard, or always leaves their garage door open, or leaves their trash can at the road. There's typically, not kids running all over being loud in the streets or in the playgrounds. So you have those protections that the neighborhood's gonna pretty much look nice and be a pleasant, quiet place to be. But it's pleasant when you agree with all of the rules, because we have heard from folks that look to move into them when, we always pull the restrictive covenants. We go through those with our clients because they need to understand these rules that they're also going to have to live by. And some of those rules that have caused or been points of contention were when it concerns pets, whether or not you can have one or two. They decide if you can and how many, how big that pet can be. And the biggest one, grandkids. Can they spend the summer with you? Typically, no. There are limits to how many nights they can spend in a row. So can they visit for the holidays, or like I said, for summer? Can you take them to the pool? In most communities, that's not allowed, or it's only allowed for a very small window. And it's understandable because the rest of the residents moved to a 55 and over community so they could enjoy the amenities without kids throwing Nerf footballs across the swimming pool. So it's just important that you consider if you can live by these rules. Everything from whether or not you can have a garden, the color of your home, and who can visit, it's a trade-off. So the protection of the community looking nice and being quiet versus giving up some of those freedoms, you just have to decide, is that a lifestyle that you can live with? Now that brings us to our next topic, and that's the social aspect. And I think a lot of folks, maybe second to amenities, move to 55 plus communities for the social aspect. Because let's face it, when you live around people that are in the same stage of life, you're probably going to share a lot of common interests, whether that be golfing or crafting or, really whatever. There's so many activities there to do. It shouldn't be hard to find folks that have those similar interests. And for a lot of people, they really enjoy that social aspect. We've heard recently from one of our clients that purchased in a 55 and over community that can be a drawback too. In their words, it's a bit like high school. You're going to have cliques. You're going to have those folks that want to be the HOA president. You're going to have someone peeking through their blinds at all hours because you left your garage door open. So you have to consider, again, in life, as with 55 plus communities, it's a trade-off. If you want to have those folks around to have those social interactions, part of the cost is everybody's just not going to be nice. But you are there where you've basically built your entire world in this neighborhood because it's where you go to work out, it's where you go to socialize, it's where your clubs are, where the swimming pool is, where you go to fish or play pickleball. So you have to consider, am I going to be happy in these neighborhoods with these people this close, or do I kind of want some space and just pick and choose the restaurants I go to or the clubs that I join? But that's something that, that convenience, it is a trade-off. I'm sure in every neighborhood you have good and bad neighbors, but in a 55 and over community, because lots of folks are retired and have lots of time, let's face it, they can get a little bit like high school. Now the next pro of living in a 55 plus community is that it's designed for just that, people that are 55 plus. Now you're going to find that the common areas, whether it be the sidewalks, the swimming pool, the clubhouses, they're going to all be accessible for those with mobility issues. And none of us like to think about having mobility issues or maybe being in a wheelchair or just having trouble getting up and down steps at times. But as we age, those things can happen. There'll be periods where we may need some extra help. The good thing is, not only is the community designed for this, but each individual home is as well. You're going to find much wider hallways, larger bathroom spaces with handrails, countertops that are at a height that is still aesthetically pleasing, but that someone with mobility issues could take advantage of. That leads me into another pro, which is you can age in place. You can avoid those retirement homes or assisted living facilities because your home was designed for someone that's aging. So home health care can come in and you can age in place in your own home. Now, we're here at our final con, and that con is because it is designed that way, because these communities are restricted by age, you're going to have a much smaller pool of buyers when it's time to sell. Now the Raleigh market has experienced such growth and there's no end in sight with all the companies moving in, and there's just so much interest in this area. But when you reduce your pool of buyers to 55 plus and the associated HOA fees, it takes a particular buyer that's what they're looking for. So with a smaller pool of buyers, it may be a little more difficult to sell, and they don't tend to appreciate as much as homes not in a 55 plus community. Now, didn't try to talk you out of moving in a 55 and plus community during this video. However, you just need to be aware of these things. These are conversations we have when folks reach out to us and they're thinking about retiring to the Raleigh area. So if you're thinking about retiring to the Raleigh, North Carolina area and looking at 55 plus communities, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and we'll be happy to go through each specific neighborhood and give you all the details and help you make that smooth move to Raleigh.